Good evening and thank you for joining us. A tragic crash on the north end of the Thunder Bay Expressway this morning.
OPP have confirmed that a 50-year-old city man died after a major collision between a pickup truck and a commercial vehicle. It happened just before 6:30 at the Balsam Street intersection and closed the expressway between Red River Road and Hodder Avenue throughout much of the day. The deceased was driving the pickup truck. The man's dog also died in the crash. There was a significant amount of debris around the intersection, with a traffic light ripped out of the ground and tangled on top of the commercial vehicle. OPP Constable Matthew Foster stresses it's an ongoing investigation and says all thoughts are with the loved ones of the deceased.
It's been a tragic day, and we're thinking of the family, and we also appreciate the public's patience as the OP continue to investigate. And I understand, as I said, it's a major artery going through Thunder Bay, and it can disrupt commutes. So we do appreciate everyone's patience in taking alternative routes.
The driver of the commercial vehicle, a 45-year-old Thunder Bay man, wasn't hurt. The expressway reopened just moments ago.
The homeowner who discovered she had over 100 sticks of old dynamite buried in her backyard is talking about the frightening experience. As
we first told you on yesterday's News Hour, police were called to the home on Marlborough Street after crews installing a fence discovered the explosives. Jonathan Wilson has the story.
Someone came to the door and said that they had found dynamite in the backyard, and of course my first reaction was I was terrified of what that means and should we get out of the house.
Marlborough Street resident Julie Colhoun says crews putting in a fence in her backyard were digging a hole for a fence post when they spotted several beige sticks which looked like dynamite. City police were called, and then an OPP explosives technician was brought in. Further digging with a backhoe led to a burlap sack and an old crate containing over 100 sticks of dynamite.
Having a stick of dynamite, but having that much dynamite, my nephew actually works at a mine, and he said that would have flattened your house. And, one of the officers said it probably would have taken out a good chunk of the block had it actually been live.
Fortunately, the dynamite was so old that the risk was quickly determined to be low. Colhoun and her neighbors were told to stay out of their backyards, but the schools across the street were allowed to continue having recess. Colhoun says city police quickly connected it to a high-profile missing dynamite case from decades ago.
Apparently in the 60s, early 60s, there was a truck that a case of dynamite had fallen off of, and they're linking it back to that. So I'm told it's safe, and all of the explosive stuff would have seeped out years and years ago, over the 60 years, but so the risk was really not much.
All the dynamite was taken away, and the dirt around it was filtered and removed, and then replaced with new gravel by city crews. Colhoun says her hired crew can now get back to installing her fence, but she won't soon forget this harrowing experience.
I mean, emotionally, I fluctuated between terrified and laughing so hard because it's just such a surreal experience and thing to have happened. And once we knew it was sort of the risk was very low, then, I was able to just sort of focus on what a story this is for the rest of my life, and my kids are young adults, and this is their story of their backyard. So,
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
The chiefs of Anishinaabe Nation will head to the polls to elect a new Grand Chief on August 16th. NAN announced the date of its by-election on social media today. It will be held during this year's annual Kiwewin Conference. The leaders of the 49 NAN First Nations will vote on a replacement for former Grand Chief Derek Fox. Fox was removed from his role nearly a month ago after an internal investigation found that he breached NAN's code of conduct. More details on the election should be available soon at nanelection.ca.
The Greenbelt, healthcare, and climate change were just some of the issues raised at Queen's Park today on the last day of session before summer break.
But perhaps the most heated debate was over education and unresolved union contracts. Siobhan Morris has the story.
On the last day of the legislative session at Queen's Park and the last day of class on the horizon, contracts with Ontario's teachers' unions are still unresolved.
I assure families we're going to continue to be fair to the workers and stand up for our kids to keep them in school.
None of the major teachers' unions have taken a strike vote, so right now there's no plan for job action in the fall.
I think we're all worried about any form of instability that can keep a child out of a school. That would be unacceptable, I think, to everyone, to parents and to the government. But I want to remain cautiously optimistic that cooler heads could prevail.
The government and unions have agreed to keep their negotiations private. For the leader of the opposition, this is pretty simple.
If this government wants to actually avoid a strike in the fall, they need to come forward with a significant offer and actually some respect for those workers.
Today, the government passed a bill giving itself more control over school boards and student achievement.
The difficulty we're having is that we're trying to bargain right now, and there are more and more items that are being introduced outside of bargaining that now we need to talk about at bargaining.
The president of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario writes, the government pushed through legislation that sets public education back decades, undermines student outcomes, diminishes accountability and transparency, and lays the groundwork for further privatization of public education. The education minister is promising to give early childhood educators a raise beyond what was mapped out in the $10 a day childcare deal. Many centers are already short-staffed, never mind with rising demand. Stephen Lecce won't say for now how much more he's willing to pay.
My commitment, though, is to respect their work. We value what they do.
The NDP leader says ECEs have to be able to afford to stay in the profession they train for.
The average number of years that they spend working in early childhood education after they graduate is 3 years. That should tell us everything we need to know about how desperate this situation is.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
A well-known former Canadian broadcaster was the special guest at the Salvation Army's Journey to Life dinner last night. Valerie Pringle came to Thunder Bay to speak about the importance of mental health, and she shared her family's story to help remove the stigma and replace it with a sense of hope and community.
And it took a very long time to realize that her reactions weren't normal. As she got older, it got worse. Duh, this is what happens.
The money raised during the dinner will go to the Journey to Life Centre and its programs. The center helps those struggling with homelessness, along with mental health and addictions, to provide them with pathways to a better future. Pringle has been an advocate for the treatment of mental illness for years and hopes her speech shows attendees they're not alone.
That people go through this, and we have to have empathy and understanding, and that really we have to push harder for better services and access. And I hope they also take out that what they're doing is really important work for the community that the Salvation Army does at the Journey for Life Centre.
You know, if we looked 20 years ago, people weren't talking about mental health, and I think pretty much everybody in our community has somehow been affected by mental health or knows somebody that's been affected. So I think it's really forefront right now, so we're really excited to have her here doing that discussion.
Salvation Army officials hoped to raise about $12,000 from the Journey to Life dinner.
Oski Wenjack Education Institute celebrated the graduation of over 70 post-secondary students this afternoon at the Da Vinci Center. The graduates came together with their family, friends, and community for the momentous occasion. President Laurie Deschamps says this ceremony was more than just a celebration of academic accomplishments. It's a testament to the strength, perseverance, and potential of the graduates. All learners in the Institute come from NAN communities. And with the Institute's blended delivery model, the students were able to learn mostly in their own communities. Police Foundation's graduate, Gina Dorr, offered some words of encouragement for those thinking about going into post-secondary education.
Reach for the stars. You can do anything that you want to, and you can be successful, and go for it. Like, you know, the sky's the limit.
We're very happy that they were able to accomplish their program. We're very excited, very happy. It's our 21st graduation. We've been in existence for a long time, and congrats to all our graduates.
21 local special needs students competed in the Special Olympics Ontario Championships this week in Kingston. After 3 days of competition, they were welcomed home today by friends and family when they returned this afternoon. A group of students from Westgate and Hammersholt went up against 900 other special needs athletes from across the province in basketball, bocce ball, and track and field. They flew out early Monday morning and landed back at the Thunder Bay Airport this afternoon. Special education teacher Kylie Danier credits the local community for creating opportunities for special needs athletes.
Our community partners, Keith and Tara and the rest of the law enforcement, put so much time and invest so much energy into ensuring our students have opportunities throughout the year. And that's really special, and that pours into our schools because the kids see the value in sport.
It was an awesome experience for me. Like I scored a lot of points in basketball, and I saw like 85%. It was a awesome time experiencing the gratefulness and stuff.
The 21 students brought home a total of 28 medals from the provincial championships, including the team gold in basketball.
A Winnipeg man running across the country to raise money for cancer research made an emotional stop in Thunder Bay today. Jackson Sharon Okerlund started his journey more than 3 months ago on the East Coast in an effort inspired by Terry Fox. Sharon Okerlund has already traveled about 4,000 kilometers and is currently pacing himself at 70 a day. The 25-year-old is driven to raise as much money as possible for cancer research and spread awareness about the disease. Sharon Okerlund considers Terry Fox a personal hero and says passing the mile marker where the Canadian legend had to stop his journey more than 40 years ago was a humbling experience.
My goodness, with 2 legs, it's not easy. I couldn't imagine what he had to go through, especially back then. There was no internet. I mean, I'm connected to family, friends, social media at all times, so something to keep the mind busy, but I couldn't imagine back in that day. I mean, what did he have, just a Walkman? And I don't even know if he wore one of those. So incredible grit he had, and something we can all learn from.
Sharon Okerlund stopped at the Terry Fox Lookout just before we went to air, and he's hoping to make it to the West Coast by July 20th.